Life throws you punches. Trauma, life, and burnout. I've lived through it all, and I've built something for the fighters that refuse to stay down. If you're ready to stop playing small and own your story, then this is where you belong. The Unstoppable Network is where the overcoming stories are getting very loud. From veterans to survivors to trailblazers, sharing their story of turning their pain into power. Welcome to the Unstoppable Network, where we turn your mess into a message. All right. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Unstoppable Network. I'm your co-host, Dorothy Odell. This is the lovely and amazing Dr. Jay Royster. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time, let us know in the comments where you're all listening in from. I re-listened to that video again tonight, and every single one of those people have actually been on the show. From Commander Dettori to I know her as Felicia. What is her name?
Lieutenant Pico.
Yeah, Pico. Yes. Lieutenant Pico. To Courtney Robinson. She's an amazing coach. To our filmmaker, Kevin Kuhn. He's actually a Canadian filmmaker. So yes, everybody that has been on there has been on the show. So that's pretty exciting. So we'll have to do another video and add more people. But with that, I was very disappointed, Dr. J, because I didn't get one email from last week's request to send resumes in for your dating. So, but before we get to that, can you please tell us a little bit about Semper Modus, your amazing company that helps veterans and those that have served?
Sure. So Semper Modus LLC is a therapeutic practice that I created where service members can serve those who served. So we have all served in a different capacity in order to treat certain mental health challenges and coaching challenges with first responders, military veterans, civilians, and first responders of like police or firefighter. So we are there pretty much for everybody, but it does give us a little different avenue as people who have worn the boots can serve those who wear the boots now as well.
And absolutely amazing. I wanted to say facility, but it's not a facility. It's amazing business. And every veteran that I know, I actually recommended you again today. She's not quite ready yet, but when she's ready, you will be the first person that I connect her with, because I absolutely trust you especially with all my veterans and civilians. I have actually been treated by Dr. Royster as well, so it works. I'm still here. Half as crazy as I used to be, but it's not about me. It is tonight.
Well, we can't fix everything, Dorothy, but we try. I mean, you are from Canada, so we do the best we can.
She was going so freaking good. It was going so good, and then she just had to start with the bullshit. We're going to bring up the amazing Chief Seibert. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here on someone else's network. I'm so used to being on my own, but yes, it's great to see you guys in action. What a great intro. What a great intro to your show.
Well, we like to have fun. And thank you. We like to have fun around here. It's not always easy subjects that we talk about. Let's face it. I think we talk more about mental health than anything else on this show. But I want to know about you, because I could read this 2-page bio, but I don't want to do that. I want to hear straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So, sir, tell us a little bit about yourself, even before service.
Yeah, well, I talk about this a lot, and before service, I'm Aaron Seibert, right? And when you're growing up as a kid, until you're about 5 years old, you really kind of, or maybe 4 or 5, you really don't know too much about who you are, what you're supposed to do. You're your kid's parent. I mean, you're your parent's kid, and you just kind of going along with the thing, and then you kind of come to this realization that hey, there's a big world out here. I'm going to go to school. And so I grew up in Wyoming. I grew up on a small farm, goats and cows, and milked the goats every day from super early in the morning, late at night. And I would get on the one cow we had and ride it, and did the little britches rodeo. And I was kind of a cowboy, and in a lot of ways in my younger age of growing
literally up. A cowboy. Well done.
Literally. And I remember getting bucked off this cow. My first, I want to say my first experience in trauma was probably getting bucked off this cow into a puddle in the pasture. I mean, not in the pasture, in the pen with all these goats too. And the cow almost stomped on me. And, my mom's like, hey, we're going to wash you off. And then you got to go get back on that cow. And I was like, whoa. Okay. So I did. And I would say that was probably a major push in how to overcome some of the things that obviously you're going to have to deal with life. And then I went to kindergarten and, just started to really enjoy life, I guess, just going through school. And I struggled through school because I have dyslexia, and I kind of get mixed up in letters, words, and certain things. So school was always tough to me. I was never the kid that was going to skip school because I couldn't afford to miss one single class. And, but I enjoyed my life. I went through a lot of different things, came from a broken home. My mom and dad got a divorce when I was super young, and I had me and my brother, and then my mom had two more kids, and then my dad had two kids. So I come from a lot of pretty big family. It's all broken. It's all over the place. And then my stepdad really kind of became, a real father figure to me, and he served in the Air Force, and, he would talk about that. And he's a firefighter and different things like that. And so growing up in Riverton, Wyoming, there was a lot of patriotism, a lot of really cool things that I really got to kind of feel good about. And then I went to live with my dad for a while in Monument, Colorado, where I went to high school and middle school and got to know him a lot better. And, religious wise, grew up as a Jehovah's Witness and just learning the religion and stuff like that. And I felt torn between a lot of things because you get religion all over the place and a lot of different things in your life. And you start to collect all these weird, like thoughts of how life should be because it's broken, so broken. But I was the oldest, and I had to be responsible, and I had to be, taking care of my younger kids sometimes, my younger brothers and sisters sometimes. But at the end of the day, I kind of had a focus of like, hey, school's tough. I can't wait to get out of here. But I had a girlfriend in high school. It was really, really good girlfriend, a really awesome thing. And her dad was an F-4 pilot and a vigilante pilot from Vietnam. And he would always talk about these really cool things. He was actually the start of Top Gun. And when I met him, I thought it was like, wow, he's in the Navy and all these cool things. And during that time, Top Gun came out, and Navy SEALs came out too. And so I was kind of inspired to do, one of those two things. And I was really kind of leaning towards being a Navy SEAL for the majority. And I was really kind of like going to steer in that direction. I said, hey, I'm going to join the Navy. And I really didn't care too much about how that was going to work out. I was like, man, school is just kicking my ass, and I just can't wait to get through this piece and move on to the next endeavor. And so I went down and joined the Navy, and then I said, hey, I want to be a Navy SEAL. And they're like, hey, you could be one of these three rates. And it was three rates. And I think bosun's mate was one, and a corpsman and some other one. I can't remember what that was. But I was like, hey, what's a corpsman? And they're like, hey, corpsman can go, anywhere in the Navy, anywhere in the Marine Corps. And he's the medical guy for the guys. I said, all right, sign me up for that. That sounds good. I'm going to go to A school. So I remember, I get to boot camp, and I'm going to boot camp at San Diego. But in the meantime, well, my aunt and my mom moved out to California to live with my aunt. My aunt lived in Bellflower. So I got to come out to Bellflower and hang out on the beach for about 3 months before going to boot camp. So it was kind of cool to get some California under my belt a little bit. And then I'd go down to San Diego and I go into boot camp. And I remember in boot camp, just going through the struggles of boot camp and thinking, and there was just all this weird stuff. Like some people couldn't swim and they joined the Navy. And I was like, well, how do you join the Navy and you can't swim? I mean, you're going out to the water, right? And I didn't know where my adventure was going to begin or how it was going to really kind of end up. But I remember seeing all the planes flying over and landing in San Diego. And I'd be like, towards the end of it, just the grind of boot camp, you're like, man, some people are on that thing going wherever they're going. They're just enjoying life. And
Yeah.
but here I am stuck in what essentially is a prison, you know, because you're basically there doing your stuff and you can't go. I mean, if you jump the fence, you're joining the Marine Corps, or you're swimming across the, you know, the water. But I made it through boot camp, and then I was like, but in boot camp we had to go to school, so there's nothing but a bunch of school again. And so everywhere I was looking in the military, it's all about school. And then I went to a school in San Diego at Balboa Naval Hospital, where they had the Corps school there at the time. Now everything's down there in Texas. Every service, you know, gets trained down there for their medical specialty breakout sessions for the Navy, Air Force, you know, Space Force, and the Army. And the Marines don't have anything there because we as corpsmen get to serve anywhere in the Marine Corps, anywhere in the Navy. So I got to Naval Hospital Long Beach, was my first duty station. Out of everything that I did, you know, I wanted to be stuck in Long Beach, and it was great. I got Naval Hospital Long Beach, but that got closed down. When it got closed down, like, hey, it's time for you to go to FMSS, which is Field Medical Service School. And that was on Camp Pendleton, and that's where you get to learn to be a corpsman with the Marines. And once you graduate that school, you know, it's just this whole school is owned by the Marine Corps. It's a combination of learning field medicine and how to be. You're going through another boot camp of how to be a Marine, how to be serving with the Marines, and doing everything that they do. Learning so much stuff about the Marine Corps. It's just down your throat with all kinds of, you know, this and that's, and you got to. You know, the knife hand is there too. You know, we had the knife hand, but you can't use that anymore, you know? So it was like a miniature boot camp, and it was learning how to be field medicine and all that stuff. So it was really a grueling kind of situation. And then my first duty station was, after that was Okinawa, Japan. I got Charlie Company, 1st Med Battalion, and got to hang out in Japan and really kind of hang out with the Marines and do some really cool things out in Japan. And Japan's beautiful. Okinawa, Japan's really beautiful. And we lived in the ammo company barracks, probably the best barracks in the Marine Corps, because it had like chow hall built into it, a full-on gym built into it. So it was like one building with all these like cool features to it that no other Marine Corps building has or had that I've ever seen since. And so, you know, after that, I came back to Camp Pendleton after that year deployment. But I met a lot of buddies out there, a lot of my great buddies. We served together. We still talk to each other. We went to boot camp together. I mean, not boot camp, but we went to field medical service together. There's a lot of guys that I know from that era that I still stay in contact with, and we do a lot of stuff. But I came back, and I was still in Med Battalion, and then I moved, you know, at Camp Pendleton. Then from there, just doing a bunch of just different ops and a deployment. I did a deployment with the 11th MU. That was a really great experience. And that was just, you know, getting on the ships and doing stuff. So the only time I've been on a Navy ship is with the Marines. I've never been on, you know, assigned to a Navy ship, never been, you know, hey, this is where you're going to be. But I've been on ships, been on the Essex, the Harpers Ferry, the Blue Ridge. I actually got to go on a cool Blue Ridge float for about 2 weeks. That was cool. And that's the Fibron 7th Fleet command ship. You know, it was just a really cool. But it's doing all kinds of diplomatic relations building all over the world. But all these things kind of added up. And then when I finally got to Naval Hospital Long Beach, I finally got at Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton, and I was an audio tech there. And I got to work in hearing conservation. I got to work with preventive medicine type stuff, and really kind of focus on a lot of different things. It was kind of a cool school. I mean, kind of a cool great place to learn. And I had a cool Master Chief there, Master Chief Dew, which he kind of like inspired me. He was a recon corpsman, and he was a huge inspiration to a lot of the physical well-being that I kind of focused on, because he was really about technique of the body so that you can run faster, so you can do better. And it really kind of pointed me in a lot of directions, which in doing so, I kind of corrected some of my feet positions and did some stuff, but it also gave me exercise-induced compartment syndrome, which I had to get a surgery for, and they cut my fascia tissue and released it, all for the best, you know. And then, you know, a couple of years later, here we go to I ended up at 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, tip of the spear type guys, most decorated Marine Corps unit in the Marine Corps. And it's full of like a lot of different things, a lot of spirit, a lot of really good stuff. And their motto is get some. And consummate professionals, and they have all this, this great stuff. So that's who I deployed. I deployed twice with them. I deployed once with them into the major fight as we got ready. And after 9/11 hit, we were already due to go on a deployment, which we did. We did our 31st MU, went back to Japan, Okinawa, did some stuff, prepped up for, obviously, in 2003, our trip into Iraq and taking over Iraq and making sure that was secure before we all went back down to Diwania and got ready to secure and come back, just to find out that we have to return because things got out of hand and we have to go back to Iraq. So for the first time since World War II, all the units of 5th Marines were together. Usually there's one always floating, but because of the war, it was kind of a really unique deal. And there's some really cool history behind that, to see the banners all flying and everybody's in formation. We're just doing this big giant kind of, hey, we just conquered the country that we needed to, and make sure that we secured it to the best of our abilities. And everybody got ribbons. I mean, all these ribbons and banners all over their guidons, and just an incredible kind of a historical thing, and just really cool. But then I got when it kicked back off, we got asked, and I had to go back with a platoon, and this was a platoon of guys that were sent over there to be security force for Colonel Durant, which was Coyote 7, I believe, or Coyote 6. But Colonel Durant, he was just basically moving around the country and just making sure that the Iraqis were taking care of what they needed to do. We were standing up all kinds of police departments and standing up all these different units and things of that nature, all within the Habbaniyah area, and El Anbar province, and getting back into exactly where we were kind of in the fight to begin with, or to finish with. And now we're stuck in this El Anbar province and just trying to make sure that we're getting the leaders to take heed and move forward and do good things for their country. And then, I get back and they're like, hey, it's time for take orders. You're going to leave 5th Marines, but you're going to get to go to Etzen Range and do some stuff. This is a training range for the Marines that are coming through. And I said, hey, is there any way that I can just stay with 5th Marines? Because what's going to happen is I'm going to get over there to Etzen Range and get sucked out to some unit that I'm not even familiar with and doing stuff. Is there a way that I could stay? And they said, yeah, there is. You can stay if you want to go with the MIT team, Military Iraqi Transition Team, and get all spun up on these high-speed teams that are going to go in and train the Iraqis to take over their country, and 10-man teams that are going to do this and that. And I said, all right, sign me up for that. And what I was seeing, and it was really strange to me, that there was a lot of leadership. As a matter of fact, in the 10-man unit that I was in, there was a motor T guy within the first 24 hours turned in his retirement papers and says, no, I'm not doing that. And so, so I got another first sergeant, Master Gun Lily Florin, Jay Lily Florin, who came into the MIT team. And there was a bunch of us in the MIT team, the 10-man MIT teams, but we all trained together. There was a whole bunch of us, and we got to train, McPeepee, all the Marine Corps, special things, and call for fire, and really got spun up on some really incredible stuff. So this is the first time that I've looked at it. Like, I remember when they used to tell us in FMSS, hey man, you might be the only corpsman with your Marines, and this is how it's going to be, and blah, blah, blah. And I used to be like, in today's modern technology, in today's modern warfare, how is that really going to happen? Here it is. MIT team goes out, 10 guys, supposed to hold our own security, do our own thing, and fully be involved with everything. Radio communications to running the COC by yourself to, and your partners are Iraqis. There was a time, it was 2 of us that would go out on patrol with a platoon of Iraqis. And so this is how it works. And you're going on doing these things. And so, obviously it put in a lot of dangerous positions to kind of maneuver and do a lot of things. But what happened, there was one area, our area of operation was taking 300 mortar rounds a month in our area. And so we needed to stretch out and extend ourselves into the enemy's face a little more. And so across the Euphrates River, there's a portion of the area that we really wanted to secure. So we needed to build a patrol base for the Iraqis so that they could kind of be over there a little bit further. And then for 72 hours, they could patrol out of this patrol base. And it was called Ratib. And we were going to build it. But we had to take over some houses. We had to do all this stuff. And we had to disarm a bunch of IEDs on our route because they were stuffed under like little tunnels and little things. And so it's like some of the biggest, stuff that we had to get involved in. And in between this, I guess I'm not really talking about some of the firefights that happened prior to all this too. I remember with Colonel Durant, we were in the biggest firefight in Al Ramadi before, just going back to that. We ended up losing an Army guy that night. I mean, there's a lot of operations that caused some really, really scary situations. And, we had to secure some weapons from the guys that were guarding them, and they didn't even know what they were guarding, but we had to go secure them in the middle of the night. And then as we're leaving, we're getting hit with small arms fire and RPGs, and it ended up losing one soldier that night. But it was a combined operation that we normally wouldn't do, but we had to do this thing. So I remember that was kind of a really crazy time. And obviously the times of just digging our fighting holes every night in 3-5 and doing some of these things, as I look back, carrying 2 sodas in my freaking backpack, that was really important. I remember halfway through like this travel up to Baghdad, and we're digging a fighting hole, and we finished our fighting hole, and the sun's just getting ready to go down, and I pop that thing. I'm like, put it in a sock, get the sock all wet, and it cools it off to about, from 110 degrees, it probably gets down to about 90. Maybe you get a 20 degree difference, but that's a cold soda in Iraq, I'll tell you. But I called all my buddies over, and I popped that can open, and it was really slow. And I just remember methodically hearing that fizz popping, and it was just such an important kind of like cool thing. And then I kept that other soda so long that by the time I was going to drink it, we finally kind of secured everything, and we were buying sodas from the Iraqis, the nationals, and just buying our own sodas. So I was like, man, this thing's worthless now. I should have drank this like 5 days ago, 10 days ago, whatever. But the first one was worth it. So what's your favorite soda? Oh, well, my favorite soda actually is Dr. Pepper, but I very rarely drink it. Yeah. That's good.
She likes Mountain Dew too.
Getting back. Yeah. So getting back to this Ratib story, and this is because I guess I slowed it down because this is where I got hit, and it was the first day of Ratib, and we were building it, and right outside we took over these houses in the area, secured the windows with tape, because explosions, rip through stuff, and but we tape all the windows up, and we never know what we're gonna encounter in this area because we've never been to this area anyway. So we're like doing all this work around the area. There's a Humvee parked outside. There's pillars outside holding the overhang. It's a nice big giant porch, and there's some smoke plumes on the background. And I used to take pictures of a lot of things, not just for myself, but sometimes analysts would want to check it out too, and they'd take my film and do some stuff with it. But I took this. I was taking this picture, but I had taken a dump literally like 10 minutes before this whole thing happened anyway, which probably saved a lot of my problems because I think of my intestines and how they didn't take any shrapnel into the intestine, because if I would have been full, it probably would have ripped through them and caused other problems. Right. So I'm so lucky that I didn't, because when I stood on this porch and I'm taking a picture, I take the first picture, and there an Iraqi one of our interpreters walked in front of it. So he just kind of blocked the picture. So I went up to take another picture. And as I'm taking that picture, the explosion happened. And literally the camera has pieces of shrapnel in it, 2 pieces that I'd probably be blind. My hand has shrapnel in it. Otherwise I might be blind with this eye. I don't know. But and I'm the advisor to Dr. Ahmed, who is the Iraqi doctor, speaks English, does incredible stuff, taking care of these Iraqis all this really good stuff. And I was his advisor directly, but he's standing next to me. He gets hit too, loses a testicle. He's blind in one eye and going through a bunch of stuff. But he trained his guys to take care of the Iraqis. I mean, and everybody else, however they need to, just like we would in America, because we're trying to teach these guys how to do American medicine and how to believe in yourself. Right. And, you know, if the leader goes out, you know, and it's culturally maybe unacceptable, but Dr. Ahmed, he really didn't care. He kind of really dug the fact that we were the way that we were. And he really kind of helped maneuver so many cool things. And he was always, I had to stay up late with him. And, you know, the Iraqi way, the culture of the Middle East is, you know, 90% discussion and 10% business. In America, we're just the opposite. We got 10% of discussion to take care of, but we got 90% of business to take care of. Yeah. And so that alone is going to tell you exactly why America is probably the number one fighting force on the planet of the earth. You know, that's just the way it is, because we're 90% business and 10% we want to talk about it. And, you know, just serving under these things. And then these thoughts and these processes, you know, and it all goes through my mind too. As I got hit, this mortar round was fired out, and it lands 10 meters in front of me. It flattens the tires of the Humvee. Sergeant Bray is on the gun in the Humvee, but his hand was open. His hand looks like just sprinkled pepper all over it. Wow. But he and I both got hit, and now we're having to do a full-on medevac. And so now it becomes a movie to me. Now everything's like a movie, my life and everything. I'm like, hey, this is, you know, I'm trying to relax my breathing. I'm trying to evaluate things. I think I need a tourniquet on my leg. I'm seeing where blood's kind of pouring, you know, kind of getting through my camis. And a Navy SEAL corpsman guy, he shows up. He's like, hey man, you don't need a tourniquet. Cuts it off. So I'm like, okay, cool. But I now see the two helicopters land, 246s. They're snagging us up along with all these Iraqis, because about 19 Iraqis got hit with me as well. Wow. And so, you know, they're also going to be taken care of, because they're part of the mission, part of the situation. So we're doing a whole on medevac out of there. And I'm watching my IV, because I can't move one arm, and the IV's in my other arm. So this one's on an arm board because they don't know what's going on, because it's got a bunch of shrapnel in it. And I'm watching this IV slowly make its way out of my arm as the helicopter's flying. And as soon as it pops out, I just close my arm, because I don't know how much blood I'm, you know, losing anyway. You don't need to so I'm just trying to, I'm like taking it to the last drop, you know, as I see it. And I'm like, oh, it's done. Okay. That's falling out. Nobody can help me, because so much stuff is going on and there's nobody showing up. And I'm like, hey man, this IV just slid out. And I remember getting to TQ to Cottam, and TQ is, and we get out of the helicopter and get put onto some Humvees, and the Humvees take us over to the TQ, the shock trauma platoon there that's doing, medevacs and doing more medicine. And I remember going in, and this is where I tell this story, and it's kind of, I don't know, it could be taken in a lot of different ways, but you know, as a man, and you're just about ready to like die, you don't know what I mean, literally my last rites were read to me, but I mean, I didn't know it at the time, nor did I know it for a long time. But you know, I'm thinking, all right, hopefully things work out, but you never know. And so I get in there, and there's these nurses, a couple doctors, but it's so hot. These nurses have their blouses off, and the one nurse like holds me up. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna take really good care of you." And I remember my head being in her chest, and I was like, "Man, this might be the last set of tits I ever have my head up against." And I was thinking this literally. I mean, it's kind of a weird thought, but you know these. But
you're a man.
You're a man. And then the doctor is like, "Hey, man, we want to make sure you don't have a spinal injury, so I got to stick my finger up your ass to make sure you know you still clamp down, because that's a definite thing. You know, we're taught as corpsmen, hey, if the sphincter doesn't have tone, if it doesn't work anymore, hey, that means that there's a spinal injury." Luckily, he's like, yeah, you don't have a spinal injury. And I tell this story to another nurse one time, and she's like, yeah, you know what? It's all about, you know, tits and ass with you guys. And I'm like, but this is a literal story. This is like true. This is like really happened, you know? And so
I think everybody's got a tit story, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like even I have one. So.
We all got to have them. It's the story of our life. Literally.
I mean, mine is awkward, but yours is like, all right. You know,
mine's legitimate. Mine's like legitimately like granted okay with position, maybe. I don't know. It's like one of those stories like he probably could have left that part out, but it's such a
I love it.
I don't know, such a real part of my story.
I said, I think everybody has a tit story, and some people are like awkward, and other people are like, oh yeah. So it's okay.
Yeah, so it'll be in one of two ways. So when I wake up, the guy's like, whoa, dude, I've never seen anybody wake up so happy in my life. Like you wake up, and I'm like, yeah, well, cool, man, I'm still here, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't know. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. I'm just kind of like, oh, and then it comes back to me. Hey, I was hit with a mortar round and all these things. It's kind of, because obviously I'm on medication. There's some other things going on. They're like, yeah, man, we got to medevac you back now. So I'm like, all right. And so we are, we're getting ready to medevac into from TQ to Balad, I think. And we fly into Balad, and in Balad, they're like, hey, do you want to eat? Do you want to try to eat? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, because I'll try to eat. But I ended up trying to eat, but then I threw it up, and they're like, oh, we got to put an NG tube in you now. And I'm like, oh no. So then I have this NG tube, and they're like, hey, you got your military ID when you getting ready to get on this plane. But before we get on this plane, literally I'm waiting to get on. We're almost getting ready to fly out, and they got incoming coming into the base, and stuff's just blowing up outside, and they're putting blast blankets over all the patients, and I can't do anything. I'm just stuck there, and I'm just like, oh wow, this is absolutely insane. Like, I am no longer combat effective, and I just had my stomach cut all the way open. They pulled all my intestines out, and put me back together, and I didn't know all these processes were in effect and doing all these things. And then we're taking incoming again.
Talking about my job.
Yeah.
I was an OR tech. So that's what I did, is I ran the bowel all the time. Docs always make me do it. And I'm like, man, why do I have to do it? But
yeah, it's a long process.
It's worth it though, because they're like,
a lot of parts.
He'll shit in a bag if you don't do this. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. So it was kind of like my introduction to GI tract type surgery. So yeah, they put us all through it. I'm just saying. So somebody's literally running your bowel, like running their fingers along your bowel to make sure there's no metal in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real. I mean, they don't have like the technology we have over here. So it's not like you could scan them in every, like a 3D image. There was no C-arm or anything over there. So you literally had to do a lot of that by hand. I'm just sharing. You can go back to your story.
Definitely. Hey, I guess I got frozen and taken out of the picture for a few minutes, right? Or seconds. Yeah. So I'm glad to be back with you guys. But yeah, luckily everything worked out, and we're going to get medevaced. And I remember I remember one of the times I finally get to somewhere, but we're flying on the C-17, and now I haven't eaten for like 2 days, but I can smell food better than I've ever been able to smell food in any way. I mean, I could smell lettuce in a sandwich that they were opening up for people, and they're like, and we're like flying. We're going to fly into Travis Air Force Base. We're working on getting there. And then from Travis all the way to the East Coast to Walter Reed. And so when I get to doing these processes, I'm like, my stomach started to hurt, like it was swelling, and I also had some of the shrapnel in here. They had a bandage over, but it was starting to like get all really yellowy and nasty, like it was infected. And I was like, hey, let me tell somebody. And I'm like, hey, I need you to take some vital signs for me, and I need you to get me a doctor. And I remember Sergeant Bray, he's like, I'm going to go get somebody for you. But it's been like 3 hours. And then they get somebody, and it's an Air Force, gal. And she was like, oh, I'm going to take half your vital signs. I'm like, Half? What half? What half? What do you mean half my vital signs? What half are you going to take? I've never heard that in my life. I'm a full, I'm a corpsman. I've never said that to anybody, nor would I ever. Yeah, you're just going to get the systolic and not the dystolic, and we're going to tell you what your pulse is 8, and there's another number involved, but we're not going to tell you. We're only taking half. You mean 82, 89? Nope, you're only getting the 8. We're not going to tell you which half that is either. I was like, I was cynical. So I'm like, I'm a Navy corpsman, and I've never said this to anybody. So you tell me what half you're going to take. They're like, oh, we'll take your full vital signs. I'm like, that's right. So, so this is a good sign. Wow. I mean, it was just a weird time. So these weird things pop up.
And it's like, we're going to take your pulse, but now your blood pressure. Like, what?
Yeah. It was crazy, but it worked out. I finally got a shot of, penicillin or something. They're like, hey, you'll be good now. And I was. But then I finally got to Bethesda. But no, before I had to get to Bethesda, I get to Walter Reed. And Walter Reed, I had an epidural in my back. They had, I didn't feel any pain. I was pretty good to go. But what happened was the tubing came undone. Well, the tubing came undone with the attachment attached to one side and tube on the other. So there's no way to put it back together because something's wrong with the tubing. The whole mechanism that holds that tubing together is gone. It's just to this side of the tubing. So they're like, oh, you know what? We don't have what it takes to deal with this because we don't want you to deal with an infection. So we're going to send you to Bethesda. And I had just gotten all my dressings changed and all this stuff. And it took forever. So an ambulance comes, picks me up. We drive to Bethesda, which is a couple hours. When I get to Bethesda, I feel like a full-on race car pulling in there. There's all these doctors that show up. All the bandages are coming back off. Everything's getting checked out. They put me in the x-ray room for all night. They need to check out my ankle because my ankle really took the worst. My right ankle, the 90% of my tendons and ligaments were destroyed. My talus bone was broken, but not broken all the way across. A good chunk was taken out of it. It looked like someone took a bite out of it. And then my ankle looked like the Milky Way. It was like a really cool x-ray, but it's not. But it's really cool, but it's not. I always have to say that when I see it too. I'm like, hey, that's a cool x-ray, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I said, yeah, but it's not, but it is. I'm with you because it's mine, And they usually
It'd be a really cool x-ray if it belonged to anybody but you.
Yeah. but it's always a really cool x-ray. And so they're like, hey, we got to do surgery on you in the morning. I'm like, great, man. I need some sleep because you guys kept me up all night hanging on the machine here and there. And hey, we need to put your ankle in this position, that position. We need to check this out and that. And so, I mean, I had shrapnel everywhere, under my chin, my forehead up here, all over. I mean, over 100 pieces of shrapnel, and had my last rites read to me too. And I didn't know my last rites were read to me until later on. But just going through that whole experience, and being a corpsman that was supposed to be taking care of your Marines, the chaplain finally came down. I think this was the start of something really good. Was when I said, I don't understand why I'm here at Bethesda. I said, I don't understand. He's like, sometimes God delivers you. And I think that was the start of me being able to kind of take a big breath at that point and just understand that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're at, or what you're doing. Something bad could happen at any given time, and you just never know when it's your time or when it's not your time, and you got another chance. And so many incredible things, became of this mortar round. Now I'm not just somebody that's helping somebody just to help them. I'm helping them because I know what it's like to be blown up. I know what it's like to be hit with a mortar round. I'm a professional mortar round catcher. It's a hit and miss situation. Just happened to be a hit. It was a hit. It was a hit for me. But knowing that counter battery took out the guys on the other end of that was super important to me. I think that was a huge factor too. And I remember my first phone call was to Master Gunnery Sergeant Lily Florin, because him and I hung out. We did everything. We did logistics together, made sure all the vehicles had their, gear on it right, and the medical stuff was all set up. And I trained these guys medically how to take care of each other and, first aid and all this good stuff. And I mean, they were better at sticking needles in veins than I was, some of them. So, and I consider myself pretty good, but I mean, we had to go to these labs and take this time to learn and learn and respect each other and really go through these processes and grow together as a team. But Master Sergeant Lily Florin was my first phone call. And the first thing he says to me is like, "What's up, quitter?" And I was like, that's such a,
I love it.
That's just because this is the joking way that we would do. And they're like, everybody else was like, "No, you can't, don't talk to him like that. You know, don't say that to him, blah, blah, blah." But I was like, I didn't quit. I didn't quit on purpose. But you know, it was this camaraderie piece that I think that comment meant the most to me, because obviously it was a true statement to the core, but it was such a cool statement from him that I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. And
no, you're still part of the team.
Yeah. But then I had to go back and go through this healing. Yeah, I had to go back and go through this healing process. So I ended up coming back, and let's talk about Wounded Warrior Battalion West a little bit, because I came back and was at Balboa at the Wounded Warrior Battalion West area there, and healing in Building 26 with a whole bunch of other guys that were combat wounded, ill, and injured too. And we were going through all these processes together and doing a lot of things. And they finally said, "Hey, we want you to come back at Wounded Warrior Battalion West as a patient / staff." And so I came there as this guy that's wounded and trying to go through these processes. But I got to partake in so many cool possibilities for treatment that it made a huge difference for me. And I remember I finally talked to a psychiatrist or psychologist and broke down for the first time after, just telling my story, because I'm no longer the Superman that I used to be. And I was still wearing the uniform, and there was something very difficult about not being who I was and where I was. And now I'm reduced to this for the next 5 years of my career, which is lucky, because I did Wounded Warrior Battalion West. I learned to see all these nonprofits that were pouring in there, all these help and support. And out of that, a lot of this help and support, my mentor, Jim Gallardi, 4-time Purple Heart guy from Vietnam and Bronze Star winner. He was there as a volunteer, but he was there, to help the veterans, get tuned into all these cool events and different things. And he was also a police officer. He came back and was a police officer for many years, and coming out of Vietnam, he was kind of a little bit crazy. He used to live in the rocks at San Clemente, and he got picked up by the Korean vets that said, "Hey man, come hang out with us. You don't have to hide in the rocks, and be, a Vietnam vet like that." And then sooner or later he just became a cop, and, it was like cool. And so he did all these amazing things, and he helped veterans. And I said, "Hey man, I want to be like you when I retire." And that's kind of how it went. Cause I went through Wounded Warrior Battalion West. I saw all these cool things. There's a lot of history there. All these different nonprofits. To the reason why Wounded Warrior Battalion West was started by Tim Maxwell. He was blown up, and half of his body's like he has to carry it around because it barely works. So he bought a farm out in Virginia. He started his own program. It's called Team Semper Max, and then he broke it away into Semper Fi Farm or something like that. It's just a really cool place. But he's the reason why Wounded Warrior Battalion West and East were born, because the commandant sent him in to say, "Hey, what do we need to do to help our Marines heal?" And he said, he went and talked to him, and they all came to the conclusion, "Hey, we need to heal together." And so that's such a true deal. And so I call him the grandfather of Wounded Warrior Regiment and the battalion East and West of the Marine Corps. That's Tim Maxwell. So shout out to him. What a great guy he is. Wow. So there's a lot of different mentors. There's a lot of different, and in my trauma, I got to spend so much time talking about it in groups with other Purple Heart recipients, with all these guys that I've tried to help. Within the first 2 years at Wounded Warrior Battalion West, we ended up with 5 suicides, and just losing guys to their own thoughts. And as much as, I got to push Naval Hospital to take better care of these guys. I got to help push for the underwater treadmill to be, put into Wounded Warrior Battalion West. I had great leadership there, great camaraderie there, some really awesome people that really helped me. Chief Melanie Fisher and Gunnery Sergeant Greer. They kind of ran that place for a while to get it all up and running, and a bunch of things happened. So it just really is an incredible thing to see that happen. And now I've came through it so long that I've been doing this for so long. I see a lot of these guys have successfully navigated to a point where they're in a lot better place. I'm not going to say that we're ever going to be in that great of a place, because the hypervigilance always is up. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy depleted because of PTSD. And there's a lot of people don't fully understand that adrenaline rush versus, navigating that hypervigilance that you got to keep in such a big impact, and how we treat people. And, sometimes we do it because we need that rush, and it doesn't necessarily impact what's really happening. But it affects relationships because nobody really uses the knife hand anymore. And, everything's, calm, cool, and collected in this great freedom bubble of the United States of America. So, it's not meant to be a violent place. The violence always happens on the borders or outside of that in the war. But when we bring that stuff home, we got to somehow do something else with it. And when the wife asks you to take out the trash and your excitement is like, this is what I've come to, you got to take out the trash in the middle of the night when the stars are out and the moon's hitting the grass weird. You got to have these cool thoughts for a second, and you just got to take in the night air and the night feeling, and hope that there's nothing crazy going on. But it feels like if there is, you're ready to handle it. And that's the part that really kind of excites me and keeps me moving. So it's those things. I know I've been blabbering for a good 42 minutes or something. So you guys might have some questions. There's a whole bunch of other things.
I didn't want to stop you in the middle of your story.
Not at all. But we do.
Was just like that is a lot. And wow. I was picturing it as you were speaking. So
I know.
I
very visual.
Visualize it at all. And which is like, it's funny because I had a dream last night about one of my nephews that's currently serving. And I'm just like, I'm not going to ask. I wanted to text his mom and say, hey, how are you doing? And now after your story, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to text after to see, make sure he's okay. But wow. You just never know, right? 1 minute you're taking a picture, the next minute your body's like full of shrapnel. Do you still find pieces to this day?
Nothing's came out. I actually pulled one piece out of my arm really early because it was like a BB size piece. And the piece that they surgically removed out of when I put my boot on, there's a piece that kind of went a little bit up on my calf, where the upper part of the boot. So it always felt like a rock was in my boot. And I was like, hey, can you remove this? And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll remove that. So I have that piece, and I actually have it in a replica mortar round replica thing that I got from one of my buddies. He's like, hey, Chief. And my buddy made the tip of this thing because he's a machinist. And so I got the 2 pieces of shrapnel in there, and that's kind of a cool thing. But, as I go through this, right, and I tell the story, I haven't felt like that overwhelming kind of triggering feeling in a long time, because I'm usually talking about all kinds of stuff, but I haven't talked about my story in a long time. So it obviously, to the audience, might trigger you guys to think about your experiences. And so when that happens, just take a breath and relax and just kind of try to go with it. But it actually, I don't know if it feels good or if it feels bad, because I'm so used to dealing with it in such a good manner that I kind of prefer the feeling of it, because I want to deal with it a little bit better all the time and every time. And really, I skipped over some other cool stuff, in the story, because there's just, it's a time thing. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
I'll to have you come back to share more of that. But Dr. J, you said you had a question.
I have several. First question I have is, when you found out that he flew planes and you decided to enlist, were you there by yourself, or did you bring a buddy?
No, it was kind of by myself. I was trying to bring buddies, but for me, it was by myself because, I was like, hey, let's, join the Navy. And, some of my buddies were like, okay, that sounds cool. But then they never fell through with it. It was kind of by myself, and I kind of screwed up because I could have joined 365 days before, and then my retirement would be a little different, but I waited till the end because I was like, hey, I'm going to join anyway. It doesn't matter when I join, but it does, if you have these chances. But nah.
Did you stay in until retirement, or did they retire you medically?
No, because I was at Wounded Warrior Battalion West as a patient/staff, they allowed me to stay in. I actually got one of 25, only 25 of us in the Navy at the time. The designation was full duty with limitations, not worldwide assignable, and retire at 20. And retire at 20. So it allowed me to pick up chief while I was there too. So I was at HM1 when I got blown up, but because of that designation, it allowed me to pick up chief, and it was great. I mean, I picked up chief, and I'm a retired chief, and that in itself was really kind of a seriously cool reward. And thanks to Melanie Fisher for pushing me through that, and Kevin Barger, first class Barger, HM1 Barger. He served with me at 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine. Well, he wasn't at 3-5. He was at 2-4, I think, or what? Yeah, 2-4, and or 2-5, and he. But we served at the regiment together, and then he went as a corpsman for Wounded Warrior Battalion West, and his last thing was he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure you make chief," and that was something that was really cool. So there's some really cool camaraderie stuff that just goes through life in all these things that really make huge impacts. And now what I do is, I work directly for the PTSD Foundation of America, very limited, but I really reach out to combat vets all day long, and I do a lot with Warrior Built Foundation as the VP for that, is vocational recreational support for our combat vets. And I just stay involved in myself too. This is all therapeutic effect. I do a lot with Recon Chief Incorporated and the Veterans Transition Resource Center here in Las Vegas, because I'm in Henderson, Nevada, but I go back and forth to California a lot, and I just really stay in touch with my combat vets, and I really push them to get help and support at the PTSD Foundation's Camp Hope. And if they need that help, I want to be there, and I run 3 warrior groups a week, and it's good for me, it's good for them. Just so many things that I'm involved in doing that, and in my own podcast, Combat Vet Vision. I sometimes forget that part, but it's with everything I got going on,
yeah, right. So my question is, what do you do for you?
What I do for me is I break away at given times, because really throughout my day I spend a lot of time talking to vets and dealing with stuff. But I break away to go to the gym, and I go swimming. I swim at the gym, and I'll do a bunch of stuff, and I'll go do stuff with my wife, and I have to pace myself through life, but I still feel like I'm at my never-ending last duty station. However, it's in my pace, on my terms, and I wear the uniform in the minute. If I want to wear the Warrior Built shirt or the PTSD Foundation shirt or Recon Chief or Combat Vet Vision, that's my last duty station, and this is my never-ending last duty station. So don't anybody else think they coined that. That's mine. Wow. Same as this saying. I'm not against peace, but I'm definitely for those that are about to bring it. And that's because I'm a United States Navy corpsman, and I know where that peace comes from.
I love that. It's very cool.
It's almost like
a question.
Our Marines, they always say, once Marine, always Marine. So now Chief's saying once a Navy, once a Navy
corpsman with Marines, you're still a corpsman of Marines forever.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes.
How many times were you deployed?
Well, into combat 3, the major push, then with, like I said, Iraqi security forces with Colonel Durant, and then the 3rd time with the MIT team, military Iraqi. But I did 2, like I said, the 31st MU, and then the 11th MU. And other than that, what year
did you get hit?
I got hit in 2006, April 27th, which is coming up. My anniversary is coming up in April, so my alive day.
Yeah. Do you celebrate that somehow?
I do sometimes. I sometimes think about it, and I celebrate it by putting a post on social media, because I spend a lot of my time in social media reaching out to combat vets. I use it for those kind of purposes in so many different ways. Because obviously, and I stay really close to, combat vets and veterans in general to have many battle buddies. And so
You
if I
don't
need
have
to
like
talk,
a cake or anything?
I don't necessarily have a cake, no, but I kind of just have a, I might pull out my box and be like, hey, check out this shrapnel, or tell a story to somebody. But really every day is kind of like, like I said, I'm in the military still. It feels like every day. My days off are Memorial Day and Veterans Day, because every day's like Memorial Day or Veterans Day to me.
That's true.
So sometimes I just take the day off. I don't even go, to the restaurants. I don't, as much as there's all these freebies and doing all this stuff, it just seems my life's so fulfilled with military type activities and support and being involved in myself and others, that this is hopefully how it works out the best.
I would like to extend an invitation, and I think I said this to you on the phone before we talked. I'm also belong to an organization called Angels 14. It's for veterans and allies, and we meet Fridays at noon Eastern. And so the camaraderie, the connection in the community is what it's all about. I mean, we're there for each other. I was going through some crap last week, and all I said to them was just pray for me. And so one of the guys reached out to me and said, hey, buddy, check, how you doing? And that meant a lot to me. And I was just like, holy shit, I don't even get that from my own family, but here it is, one of my peeps over there. And then of course he had some stuff going on at the VA. He wasn't feeling good. So it was my turn to reciprocate and say, hey, buddy, check, how did you make out at the VA? And so that's what it's all about. It's just being there for each other. So I would love for you to come in, not only as a resource, but also to just, enjoy these guys. Because when you said, I did paraphrase it too. I said, it's not a story if there's no tits and ass, chief. And so like, that is exactly what we're like on Fridays, myself included. Like, I'm probably more raunchier than them. And we're talking Marines, Air Force, and Army. And I'm more raunchier than they are. So yes. So, and some of you
but we enjoyed immensely. I think we become way too sensitive, and we need to let our freak flag fly sometimes. Yeah.
And this is a safe place to let it fly, man.
Fly. It's hard to know where that exists, right? Because there's so much sexual trauma, so many other issues. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I had Paula Kemp on my podcast this week, and she's a sexual trauma survivor, and she actually started Veteran Sisters, and she wrote a book called dang it, I can't remember. Unjustly Served.
We have to go to your
podcast, which is across the bottom. You'll check them out.
So you got to always be careful with what you say, but when you have that kind of permission to be to be able to say it, that's a kind of cool dynamic.
Yes. Sure. And this Fridays, it's a safe space. You can say what you want to say. Come on camera, don't come on camera. It is not recorded. And it's when I started with this group 4 years ago, I remember one of I won't say which division because that will give it away. Anyways, he was really going through a tough time. And like this guy, we were all checking on him because we thought for sure he was gonna not be there the next day. And so all checking on him. 4 years later, this guy has his own business, doing great. I mean, yeah, he still has some pretty dark days once in a while, but we're all there to support him. And to see how not being on camera to now being who he is today.
Yeah,
it's just like freaking amazing, and that's what these groups do. So we would love to have you. Open invitation. I'll send you the Zoom.
Yeah, thanks. Because I will totally take you up on that. I mean, like I said, I run 3 a week, 3 of these groups already a week. So it does take a lot of my time and effort, but I will come into these groups because I love to see what there's out there, for one, to be there for you guys and with you. And the other is, if it's a resource for our other veterans that can take advantage of that really need to. Absolutely. I always like to put it out there. So,
well, and also, being somebody in charge of a lot of things myself, I will tell you that just popping in and participating is sometimes a breath of fresh air, because when you're running the show all the time, there are some times where you just need to belong and not feel the need to run.
that's so true. That's a great point. I often feel that way, and I express that
I
too.
know you do.
Sometimes I forget to talk about it. I'm glad you do, though, Dr. J. Thanks for keeping that on track. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's such a true statement.
Yes. So yeah, we want you to just come and experience it, but then also come back again and share what it is that you do, like the different organizations. One of my guys, my yoga master, Gulf War veteran, he used to be part of Wounded Warrior at one point.
Yeah, Wounded Warrior Project.
Yeah, he used
to. I just talked to them today because I needed something that they have. They have some very awesome opportunities for veterans to get help too.
He was doing their yoga and their mindful meditation. That's what it was. He's a great guy. Oh my God, that guy is absolutely amazing. So you got to meet him. Come in and join. And he usually shows up late, but he's there.
He's the Air Force guy, right?
Yeah, Air Force.
Yeah,
I got in shit because I forgot which division he was at. And how did you forget? I was on I was on this really cool podcast, with the host Dorothy O'Dell, and you wouldn't know about it, but yeah, I shared my journey. I'm like,
honey,
okay,
that was 4 years ago. I've slept since then. Calm down.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many people have I interviewed in the last 4 years? I don't know.
So many. It's hard to keep up with them all. I mean, I got 282 under my belt, and sometimes I forget that I've had them on my podcast, and I don't know if I'm getting dementia or some other problem, but I'm like, hey, I better just, brush up on it and make sure,
Well, I've had 12,000 clients, so yeah.
Wow.
And I just try and remember their stories. It's very challenging.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so one last question, because I could be here all night with you, and I would really love for you to come back.
It's so much
I would really love. I know. I feel like we just got started, but I want to be mindful of his time. So, what would you say your legacy is, or what legacy would you want to leave for others?
Ooh,
that's a great question, because I've never been asked it, but I have thought about it in a little bit, and I guess one of those legacies that I'd want to leave behind is that, I'm just a guy just trying to make things happen. And I would want to, hopefully, that I made an impact on our military in a way that kept them going. And I guess my legacy would be, did I help you enough to move you down a pathway, or was I around for you in your journey, so your pathway got better with me in your life in some way, shape, or form, because I was your battle buddy. And it's not my pathway that I want to send, or my legacy. It's like, did I help you create your legacy? Did I help you be a better parent to your kids, or a better husband to your wife, or I don't even need to know, but sometimes it's like, my legacy is that, a veteran comes up to me and is like, hey man, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here right now, because I had a gun in my mouth when I was talking to you at blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, shoot, I was going to take Tuesday off and not go to group and skip out on that or something, but I guess that's not an option,
yeah.
So I think my legacy is just going to be, did I mean enough to you to be a legitimate battle buddy? And I failed at some things. I don't think I've always been that great at making sure, I need to follow up, or, if I forget something, I want you to tell me. I want you to send me a text. Hey man, remember you said you were going to do this? Don't forget. Keep at me, because I'm not a very good write down notes and take things down. I'm more kind of like, hey, the next moment is where it's going to count. So, and then I fire and forget sometimes. And I hope that when I forget, it's not something super important.
Right. That's awesome.
So my last question to you, Chief, is what is the one thing that you've learned that you've been able to carry throughout your lifetime that's meant the most to you? The aha lesson.
Well, I'm gonna do this in two pieces. The first one is that when you join the military expects so much out of you, and there's a lot of whining going on out there, and you don't have to volunteer for anything, but you better have your bags packed and be ready to go with the attitude that when I'm called upon, I'm going to be ready to go, because that piece of equipment needs to be ready to go. That your buddy needs to be able to depend on you. There's all those dependable pieces. So you need to be that piece that's, and you can whine about it all you want after you've done the deal, but whether it's standing watch or duty, and you can go to your chief and tell them, or whoever your senior leader is, hey, I'm not going to volunteer for anything, but if you need a call on me, do it. You're going to be a valuable asset to that entity at any given time. So I'm going to say that right there. And can you ask me the question again? Because there's one other part.
Out of all your 20 years of service, what have you learned that gave you the aha moment?
Yeah, and that was an aha moment, just knowing that part. And I would say the aha moment for me is when, and this is a cool part. You can actually watch this. This was a mock group that was put together for the purpose of like making a film and just saying everything that Warrior Built does. And it had, the PTSD Foundation running groups upstairs. And there was a guy, Chris Carlisle, 2-time Purple Heart, toughest Marine, one of the toughest Marines I know, probably the toughest, solid guy. And he was up there and he was like telling the story that became so real. And he was saying, hey, there's not a single thing that I can go around and say, or you can say, that I'm not going to be able to learn something from you. And I'm going to get a puzzle piece from you, because I'm in this group together, because I'm in this thing and we're going to talk about real life stuff. So I would say that was the aha moment for me, that the puzzle pieces start to come together if you're able to articulate together and move forward with whatever problem you're dealing with. If you give it enough time and you give it enough people, these solutions can come, and they might not come in the way you think, but the way that Chris Carlisle said that, and that's super important. And we lost Chris Carlisle to one of the races, Vegas to Reno race. He just wanted to race, and motorcycle hit him in the wrong way, and ended up internal bleeding, flying medevaced out of that area. And that's super sad, because we race, we do things really intensely, and sometimes we lose guys to even the recreation that we're trying to combine. And but I wouldn't change it for the world, and I know Chris wouldn't either. He was just a solid dude. So hats off to Chris Carlisle and his family for all the stuff that they've endured to that. So I really learned a lot from my fellow comrades, and just everybody that's just doing all this incredible stuff that keeps this country free. People just maybe don't realize that. But
yeah, I thank people for their sacrifice instead of their service. It changes their attention, because a lot of people who have served our country, it's like, thank you for your service. It's almost like, thanks for holding the door open. So I approach it with like, thanks for your sacrifice. And they're like, holy shit. It changes their the way they receive that information.
Yeah, and my advice to anybody who's if anybody's going to come up to you and thank you for your service, though, take that with some mindfulness that, wow, this person had enough nerve to come up and even thank me, or if they're thanking you for your sacrifice, good on them. But take the time to just talk to them for a minute and explain what they're thanking you for. What did you do? And you can't say I didn't do anything, because if you stood on those yellow footprints, just like Marines do, but not every other service has the yellow footprints, but they talk about it so much that everybody knows what those are. That's the first step of giving yourself over to, a life full of who knows what, but it's going to be a dangerous, exciting journey for sure.
Yeah.
So take your time to kind of say, hey, oh yeah, you know what? I served in boot camp and then I got hurt, twiddling my toes in the shower or something. I don't know. They kicked me out of the military at that point because
hey, look, you walk like a duck in your underwear at MEPS, like you deserve respect. I'm just saying, like, that takes a lot of guts to do that.
That's right.
And we all do that. It doesn't matter which branch you serve in. Boy, you walk like a duck in your underwear. It is a thing.
Yeah. And never forget your battle buddies. You always got to have them. You're always going to need them. That's where it's at. So make sure you have a good battle buddy.
Thank you for that. So my last question to you real quick so we can wrap up, because we're taking all your time and I love it, but it's 5 o'clock where you're at. So you got a minute.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Has anybody ever called you? Yeah, right. Has anybody ever called you Qbert?
Yeah, Qbert, and yeah, I get it all. But you know what's the best part is that my first name is Aaron, so it's always like Aaron. So that has become a cultural iconic moment in our life, right? So no matter where you are, if you say it right, yeah, my name's Aaron. You know, if I say that Aaron, they're like Aaron, you know, and it just becomes this cultural kind of like, we know exactly that. Everyone's heard it. That's just such a cool skit. If you ever watch that, it's super gnarly. So having that name Aaron, just, you know, but yeah, Qbert, I get Qbert, and then Seibert. They call him a lot of my guys from 3-5 that we served with. They call me Seibert. Yeah. And you know, some of the other things. So it's a lot of nicknames that I've gotten over the course of my time. And I got to say, the reason I didn't go into the Navy SEALs was because I ended up with a girlfriend, and I didn't want to put my effort into that as much as I thought. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go with the Marines. It's going to be good to go. So, you know, that I didn't push myself into that zone too hard. So,
and did you marry her?
That's the bottom line reason. No.
No.
Oh, no. I've been married 3 times, so I had to think about that for a second. Yeah, nah, you know what? I don't know. Life's full of, you know, you gotta have adventures wherever you're at, and you gotta have really good reasons to do what you're doing. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So awesome. For those Christians that are watching and they're now mad at me, thank you for watching. Anyways.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Sorry. Thanks
for being here with us.
Where's the best place for people to get a hold of you, Aaron?
Oh, yeah. If you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on social media anywhere you want, under Aaron Q. Seibert. You can find me on my podcast. You can look at my podcast anywhere, Combat Vet Vision, wherever you watch your podcasts at. You can get a hold of me via my phone. Text me first, because I'm not going to answer your call. Or if you leave a message, and my phone's on mute, but I look at it so much. I do respond, but my phone number 951-805-2734. And you can email me through the PTSD Foundation of America at aaron.seibert@ptsdusa.org. And yeah, you can look up sitchradio.com and get a hold of Brian Colburn. He's my producer, my show. You can get a hold of me through that too. There's just so many ways to get a hold of me. And I know there's a lot of veterans out there dealing with some stuff. You know, just get involved in your life, whichever way you are. And if that makes a difference, let me know, because I want to hear about it. I would love to put you on my show, and I think the Unstoppable Network would like to have you on theirs too.
Absolutely.
Yes. Please.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chief, for being here tonight. I didn't expect to go this long. I've been trying to cut it like 45 minutes, but I could not stop your story. Like, I just couldn't. And we appreciate you being here. Thank you for your sacrifice. And I don't think I've ever, you're my first Purple Heart on the show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I really think. I'm trying to think back, but yeah, you are. So that's, I don't want to say it's cool, because I mean, it's
cool. It's okay.
It took you getting a hit to get it, but I mean,
well, you know what? If I could just say one thing about me wearing my Purple Heart on my hat, you know, I wear it as a memory, as a reminder that there are many people buried with a Purple Heart on their chest in this country. Almost everybody that's buried from combat or anything, they have their Purple Heart on their chest. At no given time, if I was to end my life, would they let me sit next to them or lie next to them and say, hey, you're welcome here? you need to be out there living your life because I cannot. And I was not allowed that opportunity, and it was taken away from me by whatever hit or whatever problem happened. So they're buried with their Purple Heart. I'm alive with mine, and I'm not allowed to lay with them until it's my time is due, not by my own hand. And so it's a sign of an anti-suicide device and a reminder that we who made it need to live our lives to the best that we can. It's just one of those, you know, I'm not going to hold it against you in any other way, but that's just the rule I made for myself.
I love it. Thank you.
Mic drop moment there. Wow. All right. So go check Mick Chief out. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel, please. And go subscribe to ours. We just reached 400. It was $3.99 before we came on here, and now we're at 400. So I'm freaking excited. Like I've been growing this thing for feels like forever, 4 years. But go subscribe to our channel, share it with people. Go share Chiefs as well, the combat veteran vision, and let's get these veteran stories told. And so that, you know, it's ironic because 4 years ago I started this journey with veterans with Greg Bicknell when he told me 22 veterans a day were dying by suicide, and here we are. And those, I'm like, no, like that, we've got to get it to 0. And I know those numbers have unfortunately doubled or tripled. And so I personally will not stop getting these stories out until it's either my last breath or we're at 0. So, you know, we got to keep on, and we got to be there for each other. And that means, you know, sharing the story. That means getting in community and connection. That means joining us Fridays with Angels 14. That means, you know, any means necessary, 988, whatever you got to do, Wounded Warriors Foundation, Sun for Modus, whatever it takes to make you stay here. That's what we got to do. So with that, go subscribe to both of our channels, and see you same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.